My God, I hate drugs.
In other news, Vice President Leni Robredo's fellow Bicolanos are rallying behind her. More than 100 law students from Bicol are appealing to the Supreme Court to use a 25% threshold in the poll protest filed by former Senator Bongbong Marcos against the Vice President. The High Court is sitting as the Presidential Electoral Tribunal. In a letter, the students expressed alarm over the decision of the tribunal to use the 50% threshold in the manual recount. They point out that the Commission on Elections set the vote counting machines to accept 25% minimum threshold as valid vote in the 2016 elections. Former Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno formally asks the Supreme Court to reconsider its ruling to unseat her. Sereno's legal counsel, Justin Mendoza, filed a motion for reconsideration for the Supreme Court to reverse its May 11 ruling on the quo warranto petition filed against her by Solicitor General Jose Calida. A quo warranto petition is a legal proceeding where a person's right to hold office is challenged. Sereno's camp earlier expressed their plan to file the appeal, saying the 8-6 vote of the Supreme Court justices gave them hope the motion for reconsideration would prosper. But for the High Court to reverse its ruling, 2 justices who earlier granted the quo warranto have to upend their vote. Here now are some of the top stories from around the world. A top North Korean official is set to meet with U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo this week. Kim Yong-chol is the North Korean vice chairman of the Central Committee. According to the State Department, he will be the most senior North Korean official to visit the U.S. since the year 2000. The planned meeting between Kim Jong-un and Trump nearly fell apart last week when Trump said he was calling it off. But Mr. Trump has since revived hopes it will push through after receiving a conciliatory statement from North Korea. Back to our top story. The House of Representatives approves on third and final reading the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law. While passage was swift in the House, the bill is still having a tougher time at the Senate. Lawmakers still deliberating at this hour. Our Trisha Terada is monitoring the discussions. Trisha, what can you tell us?
Yes, Cherry, it's really been a long day here at the Senate as lawmakers are still working on the amendments to the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law. Well, that's because they only have until tonight to pass it on second, third, and final reading. President Rodrigo Duterte certified this urgent. And senators are going through every page, and they're down to 20 of over 100 pages. Senate Majority Leader Juan Miguel Zubiri says among the contentious provisions is the supposed 72 billion peso block grant to the proposed Bangsamoro region. After passing the proposed BBL on second reading tonight, senators will then talk about the resolution urging the Supreme Court to review its decision on ousting former Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno through a quo warranto petition. They will then go back to BBL discussion, pass it on third and final reading. But it won't end just yet because the senators will also tackle the supplementary budget for Deng Vaksha. Cherry?
Thank you very much, Trisha Terada, reporting live from the Senate. As fuel gets more expensive, the transport sector is asking for higher fares. While the jeepney fare hike petition is pending before the regulators, some transport groups are appealing for higher fuel discounts. Our Makoy Popioco tells us more.
Jeepney driver Noel Texon says he needs to earn at least 2,000 pesos on a 14-hour shift. He spends at least 1,000 pesos on fuel every day and he needs to pay a 600 peso boundary or fee to the jeepney owner. Noel takes home about 400 pesos for his family every day.
Malaking epekto sa pamilya namin. Lalo na ako, marami rin akong anak. Kagaya ngayon, hindi pa ako nakakabili ng gamit ng bata para sa eskwela.
Noel says rising fuel prices is making it difficult to make ends meet. That's why he supports some jeepney operators' petition for a fare hike. And they want a big-time fare hike of 4 pesos, which somewhat surprised regulators during a hearing.
Now you are asking for plus 4 pesos. Tama po ba?
They want the current 8 peso fare raised to 12 pesos. Asked about the changes in the fare hike amount, petitioner Pasang Mazda President Obet Martin issues a clarification.
Nagkaroon pala sila ng pag-uusap ng aming abogado na para siguro yung binanggit ni Ms. Maran, para dun sa brand yung nag-GP.
Martin says their petition remains at 2 pesos. This was filed last February. Regulators say transport groups should present a common fare hike petition for the next hearing on June 13th. Meanwhile, the jeepney groups are also proposing another scheme to cushion the impact of high fuel prices. A 4 to 5 peso fuel discount in exchange for the fare hike.
Walang problema. Sa 8 pa rin tayo. 5 pesos na gawin din ng discount from 45 hanggang 40, okay na kami doon. Para mapagbigyan din natin ang mga kahilingan ng ating mga mananakay.
Some oil companies are already giving a 1 peso discount for PUV drivers, but Martin says this amount is not enough. Lizada says transport regulators will meet with oil executives about the proposed discount on June 15th.
If they are able to have basketball teams, di ba may mga basketball team sila? Pwede ba kami naman na ngayon ang humingi ng tulong sa inyo? It's not for us. The end objective is for the riding public.
The oil price spike is cutting across other modes of transport as well, as airline companies seek permission to restore the fuel surcharge on passengers. The surcharge was removed in early 2015.
Po ang mga petitions namin hindi naman talaga sa increase ng pamasahe but petitions for the reimposition of the fuel surcharge. So dalawang domestic carriers na po natin nag-file ng petition to lift the prohibition on fuel surcharge, PAL and Cebu Pacific.
Some shipping companies have already adjusted fares to reflect higher fuel costs.
Based from our franchising service, Mr. Chair, there are some CP owners are starting to increase their fares to recover for the increase in fuel prices.
Cheaper fuel may not come soon. That's why people in the transport sector like Noel could only hope the government and oil companies heed their plea for relief. Makoy Popioko, CNN Philippines.
A heartbreaking homecoming from Ireland to Pampanga. The aircraft carrying the body of Filipino student Justin Valdez arrived at the Clark International Airport early this evening. It touched down at around 6:30 in the evening. Irish authorities said Valdez was abducted and murdered. Witnesses said a woman matching Valdez's description was seen bundled into a car on May 19th, a Saturday, the day after police tracked and fatally shot the suspect, a 40-year-old man. The body of Valdez was found the Monday after that. Meantime, it appears the country is on its way to address poverty reduction. The World Bank reports that the robust economic growth helped slash the country's poverty rate by 5 percentage points from 2006 to 2015. Data shows poverty declined from 26.6% in 2006 to 21.6% in 2015. The World Bank cites the factors such as the expansion of jobs outside agriculture, particularly qualified poor Filipinos, through the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program and remittances. The World Bank also suggests the creation of more and better jobs, among others, to help sustain the country's momentum. Dairy giant Magnolia responds to a report by the Labor Department that identified the company in the top 20 firms suspected of practicing illegal contracting. In a statement, Magnolia believes its inclusion in the list stems not from its labor contracting, but from the use of certain machinery and equipment leased by a Labor Department accredited independent service provider whose workers maintain and operate them. Magnolia says it is willing to cooperate with the agency on the matter. Officials say more than 200,000 workers are affected because of the illegal labor scheme. This comes after President Duterte issued an executive order a month ago clamping down on illegal contracting and subcontracting of workers. CNN Philippines tackles the government's Build, Build, Build program in its first ever business forum. Our senior correspondent Ruth Cabal tells us what experts and officials discussed.
In what could be the country's most massive and ambitious infrastructure plan, the Build, Build, Build program is on track. That's according to the Duterte administration's economic managers. They're saying that half of the 75 flagship projects are already processed. Some are undergoing construction, others are nearing completion. The end goal, they say, is to give a comfortable life for all Filipinos. In Building for the Future Business Forum, CNN Philippines talked to key officials involved in the Build, Build, Build program. Budget Secretary Benjamin Jokno, Economic Planning Secretary Ernesto Pernia, Transportation Secretary Art Tugade, Public Works Secretary Mark Villar, and Basis Conversion Development Authority President Vince Dizon. Secretary Jokno says an indication that the program is on track is that spending for infrastructure has greatly increased. In the last 50 years, the government only spent 2.6% of the country's gross domestic product on infrastructure, when the acceptable level is double this. Last year, infra spending was at 4.6% of the GDP, and this year, the government is targeting to increase this to 6.1% of the GDP. In total, the government is allotting 8.9 trillion pesos for the program, which involves 75 flagship projects composed of roads, airports, and seaports and railways, including the Metro Manila subway. The DBM assures funding is in place, 75% from domestic and 25% from foreign financing.
Yes, I'm happy where we are. It's not easy to do this kind of massive, ambitious program in 2 years. But what we did was to maybe complete some projects which were not started, but we are finishing right now. For example, the Panglao International Airport, it will be done this August. Okay, Panglao, that's been lying down there for 10 years. The Cebu International Airport, the Cebu Second International, we will complete that this June.
Terminal 2.
The Clark International Airport that's been started now, right? It's ongoing.
On the part of transportation, therefore, if you will ask for criteria and view this in the light of the President's directive of making the Filipino comfortable, what will be the criteria? The criteria will be mobility. The criteria will be connectivity. The criteria will be to enhance the movement and transfer of people and goods. And then ultimately, this will be translated into one word: comfortable.
What sets this program apart from past programs and past governments? I think there are three things. First is the boldness in the decision-making that's being done by this government. Second is the swift action that's being undertaken. And third is the unity of purpose of all the departments.